they don't have to be too.
If it's electronic typewriter.
I mean, I can do some basic stuff on the phone, and that's
I
fine.
could shop.
Yeah, I'm fine. Do you do a lot of shopping online?
I do. I don't buy a lot, I don't shop a lot.
Okay.
It's just interesting. I go to the store.
I'd rather try things on. It's about how everybody, unless
I
you
like
like
buy
buy things, yeah, or shoes and stuff, unless you're used to like the company and knowing how things.
Lathers, but all the-
Just like shop for the heck of it.
Also go through, they should be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when you put it on, you're like, oh, it was a lot.
Right.
I don't like it. So,
Well, if you see that, you go to the store, you have it.
yeah. Yeah, and then you gotta like go back, back. The post office.
Yeah, that's a whole.
You girls hear about the Burger King story? Burger King is
Yeah, even second.
24. I was on the capital over there. I tried to use some credit cards to check it, called the bank and found out they had stopped
Yeah.
credit card sales to that Burger King. And there's thousands, tens of thousands of dollars that have been stolen. Because somebody apparently overseas has gotten into their computer system.
For Burger King?
Just one Burger King, one store.
Yeah.
So
Good evening again. It is now 7 o'clock here on the 10th of December, 2015, and we are going to continue. We recess the meeting and we're going to resume the joint meeting between the Town of Waukesha Plan Commission and the Town Board, and we're going to resume with the joint public hearing, and the agenda item is the conditional use request for the owner 59 Acquisition LLC, Principal John Marek. I'll not read the entire legal description, but it is referenced to tax key WAKT 129799002. And I think first order of business, we need to elect a temporary chairman for this portion of the meeting. Chairman Marek is now Mr. Marek because he's the petitioner in the audience. So is there a motion for a temporary chair for the meeting? For whom?
You want to pick one?
You
gotta
got
pick
10
one?
people
Oh, I
to
gotta
choose
pick
from. You have to. That's the rules.
no, I'm not picking myself.
I make a motion to appoint.
I'm gonna pick you, Fisher.
All right.
There you go. I'll second that.
Anybody want to second that? All right, it's been Commissioner Flanagan and Supervisor Dur with the motion, and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, just quickly here, just a couple of things to outline where we're at. Thank you to all of the people who are in the audience here. Many of you were probably here back when we addressed this on the 12th of November. The public hearing at that time was adjourned to be continued at this date. Just a couple of things to frame where we're going. If the public hearing is completed tonight and closed, the Plan Commission will proceed to discuss and may take action on the conditional use request. There's also a town board meeting scheduled for this evening, and the town board could act on a recommendation from the Plan Commission, discuss the conditional use request as well. So I would encourage all of you to stay and attend those meetings if you're so inclined. Just a couple of things real quickly. At the Town of Waukesha here, we do not have any restrictions on limiting speaking only to residents of the Town of Waukesha. All are welcome to speak as long as you're on topic. We want to hear all of the comments, concerns, questions, and suggestions pertaining to this issue that you have to offer. A couple of things that we would ask is when you are acknowledged, please come up to the microphone, clearly state your name, spell your name for us, please give us your address and the community in which you live. ask a couple of simple things. Be courteous, be respectful of others. We're not going to have any attacks on people's character or integrity or that type of thing. Those conversations don't belong in this room. Can ask people not to be repetitive or unnecessarily so. Just a minute, focus a couple issues we're going to discuss tonight. Also, we will give everyone an opportunity to speak at least once before anyone will be allowed to speak again or a second time. So please don't be repetitive. Also, just a reminder, this is not a debate. Please direct your questions, comments, and concerns to the front of the room. Those will be addressed in some detail as we go through the meeting by staff and by the petitioner, and the Joint Commission here will engage in discussion later. That said, I think we'll start and give the petitioner an opportunity to address and just highlight a couple of the issues, and let then Engineer Janelli and Planner Rabarczyk comment or chime in on things before we actually have audience participation. You might recall, not intending to be all encompassing, but at the last meeting, there were questions raised and seeking some clarity about site lighting, about storm water management and control issues, about on-site sewage disposal. There was some discussion about architectural aesthetics of the building, landscaping. Those were some of the major topics that were discussed. So at this point in time, give the petitioner an opportunity to address some of those things topically, allow staff then to respond to those as well, and then we'll allow the public to comment. So proceed.
Good evening. I'm John Marek, West 234 South 4526 Whispering Hills Court, Waukesha, Wisconsin. As requested by this body last month, I provided updated lighting plans, photometric updates, lighting plan, landscaping plans, an updated site plan indicating placement of wells, updated stormwater retention plans, and the colors to be used on the buildings. I start first with the colors of the proposed project. This was a concern from at least one plan commissioner last meeting. So I proposed 3 colors for the buildings: macadamia, dapper tan, and Greendale gray, as you can see in front of you. Lighting plans. You all have a copy of the photometric plans. In keeping with the town of Waukesha's norm, there are no streetlights in the development, simply a 6 or 7 foot pole at the end of each driveway, which would have a 23 watt CFL, similar to what most of us would have lighting perhaps our kitchen or our garages. The light splay in about 25 feet dissipates to near zero. So there will be no light splay on the property, and that's clearly pointed out in the photometric plan that you have. Landscaping plans. In the updated landscaping plans, the edited vegetation adds the required 87 points as the planner requested. Additionally, there are notations that the north and the east property lines will retain existing foliage, and that should continue to shield any of the existing houses from any of the new buildings that are going to be erected. And the foliage in that area is extremely dense. It is very difficult to walk the property in most areas other than some trails that are there. Additionally, any mature hardwoods or trophy trees that are on the property are going to remain. It would be the goal to keep all of those there. It would make no sense to cut them down and start over and plant new trees. Well and septic plans. Also, on the updated site plan is the location of the 6 wells that will service the development. There was a concern about the wells and the septics, and so I'd like to point out that if this property were developed as a single family development, I could put up to 67 home sites there. That would be 67 wells and 67 septic tanks, rather than the 6 and 11 that respectively. There are also some speculation that there is a required alternate site for mounds. That's simply not accurate. Mound systems can be rebuilt on their existing sites. Additionally, even if that wasn't the case, I'm not touching 83% of the land, so there's plenty of land extra if that were ever needed in the future. There was also speculation that the septic approvals and sizing needed to be completed prior to local approvals, and that is not the customary practice of the county. You have in a packet a letter from the on-site sewage disposal system designer stating the same. He has sized the septics based on the soils reports that have been garnered. Additionally, you have some updated stormwater retention plans. At the last meeting of this body, it was noted that there was some concerns about water going in using the DOT retention pond, whether water could get across Greenfield Avenue to the south. Those have been addressed in the new stormwater plan. Those have been submitted to the county. The county had 3 minor changes. The engineer would be happy, I think, to discuss those with you later and tell you what those were and what the ramifications of those changes are. Additionally, it is not the county's position to approve stormwater management plans until after local approval has been received. That's something that you have in your packet as well, a email from the senior civil engineer at Waukesha County Land Resources Division, Leif Hauge. This is a fantastic development for the town of Waukesha. It is a proper use of the land. It will be a high-end development. I'm not seeking taxpayer funds, tax credits, or TIF money. The project stands on its own, which speaks to the quality of the development. It will likely be the most valuable piece of real estate in the town of Waukesha, bringing with it the largest property tax payment in the town of Waukesha. The added burden on town municipal resources will be minimal. The roads will remain private. They will be plowed, maintained, and repaired at the developer's expense. Garbage collection will be paid by the developer. There are no ditches or culverts to be maintained by the town. There'll be no town rights-of-way for the town to maintain. Any common area lighting installed is maintained by the developer at its sole expense. This is quite simply a municipality's dream. Millions and millions of dollars of added tax base with minimal drain on municipal resources. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marek. I think at this time, in either order on any topic you want to address, Engineer Janelli or Planner Rabarczyk, would either one of you like to weigh in?
Sure. I think the developer covered some of the topics, but I'll just reiterate them, and they're in my staff report. The notes that I had taken from last month, first was a site plan, and it was requested to identify the wells and the septics last month. The wells were on there, but the developer has now identified the septics were on the site plan, but the developer has now identified the location of the wells, and there's a total of 6 wells that are on the revised site plan. With regard to the landscaping plan, they were deficient in the foundation plantings of the different types of uses that were going to be developed. They have now increased the landscaping around the building, so they are in compliance with the requirements of our ordinance, as well as they have identified the existing foliage within the site and have put notations that the landscaping on the east and to the north will be maintained for additional buffering from the existing residences. With regard to the lighting plan, they have now submitted a lighting plan with full photometrics that are showing both the lampposts for the units as well as the lighting that is on the buildings. And as you can see, the photometrics do not extend out to any of the property lines, so they are in compliance with our lighting plan. I did have a comment with regard to one of the architectural elevations that was used. This facade in particular that is facing the private drive, there was no windows on the upper units for the bedrooms. They have now added the windows and changed some of the roof pitches so that there is exposure for the bedrooms. There was also request for the street section for the development. and they have provided what the road cross-section is going to be for the private road as part of their construction plans. With regard to the stormwater management plan and also the septic and well system, we did get correspondence from the Waukesha County Land Resource Department and also the Waukesha County Environmental Health Department that they would not review the submitted plans until there was a conditional approval from the town of Waukesha. Once they received that, their departments would start the review of the plans. However, late this afternoon, we did get a review letter from Allen Barrows. They did start to do a cursory review of that. Town staff hasn't had a chance to review it, but the plan, stormwater management plan, has been submitted to the county and they have started the review of it. Those are conditions of approval to the development. If he doesn't meet the county's conditions, the development doesn't move forward. So with that, those were the high points of my staff report from last month. I'll turn it over to Engineer Janelli if he has any additional comments.
Actually, not really. I think from our perspective, we've, without there being any public improvements associated with the project, and the fact that the county is doing stormwater management, DOT is currently reviewing it. We've got I think there's items in front of you in which the DOT is taking a preliminary look at the access as well. And so they're, I think, currently reviewing that. So from my perspective, those were my two big items, was making sure that they get the proper approvals from all the state and local agencies.
Okay, thank you to both of you. Mr. Marek, just a request, would you sneak around the island there and just take the sample board there with the sighting? Why don't you just put it in front here, turn it around to the folks in the audience, and that way it can be picked up on the camera. Okay, thank you. Then we'll proceed with public comments. Again, we encourage you to come forward and tell us what you're thinking. We're going to dispense a little bit. Typically, our ordinance says that we go with people who are in favor of the project first and then take people who are opposed to the project. We're going to kind of relax that, a little less formal about it. So anybody who would like to come forward with public comment, please do so. Well, I'll ask again then, opportunity. Okay, thank you. Give us your name, please spell your name and give us your address and proceed.
Name is Arthur Welter, W-E-L-T-E-R. Live at South 15 West 22222 Arcadian Avenue. My major concern is really with the water in the wells. If you had developed it as individuals, there would be individual wells, yes, and they would be drawing. There is that landfill and hazardous waste contamination that the electric company had that impacts the area. There's a radius, supposedly, if I remember correctly, of 1,100 feet that has to be kind of cleared with the state as far as wells and whatnot, because my well had to be approved before it was drilled after the DOT took my old well. And this is going to be one property owner who's going to have 6 wells drawing the water table. Now, it might have an impact and it might not on drawing any kind of contaminants from the landfill, the old landfill, that's to the southwest on top of the hill. If there is that property owner going to be responsible for addressing any issues involving contaminated wells? That's basically my question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Welter. Can you just tell us, you gave us your address. You're on the north side of Arcadian, are you?
I'm on the north, I'm the corner property, the lower left corner of the drawing there.
That actually is shown on the drawing there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Who would like to comment next? Please come forward.
My name is Paul Kluth, Kluth, at South 17 West 22104 Anoka Avenue. I know you mentioned that the stormwater going to the south has been addressed. I'd like to know exactly what's being proposed as to how that's going to be handled. That's my one big concern about the whole project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kluth. Would one of you like to comment or address that at this point in time?
I think from a well perspective, I'm going to preface what I'm going to say here by saying I'm not a well guy nor a groundwater guy, but from what I understand, groundwater generally is drains from towards the rivers. So this would be to the west and south. Is generally how groundwater direction is flowing. I would not anticipate that the draw from 6 residential wells would cause a problem for contamination to migrate north then from that contamination site that's southwest of the site. Okay. I guess that, you know, that's hard to say. Like I said, I'm not a groundwater guy, but I wouldn't see that being a problem with 6 residential wells, but.
Mr. Janelli, Engineer Janelli, could you just forward that information to the DNR? They're
I
the
will
ones
do
who
that.
do the wells, or the county, whoever's gonna permit those wells, just put them on notice that we were told this. And that way that gentleman's concern will at least be brought to their attention. I think that's the best we can do.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to respond to that either, but maybe they have some folks that are more understanding of that. From a stormwater perspective, there's a new pond that's located on the south. I don't know if you've got a grading plan you can show me. A pond has been added since the last time everybody's seen these drawings. It's located immediately north of 59 and east of their main entrance. That pond will be designed to reduce the flows, and then ultimately that'll end up being connected to the storm sewer system in 59, which is then directed to the state's pond on 59. Yep, that's it. So this is the pond that's been added. And then of course that discharges by storm sewer and will end up in the storm sewer in Highway 59, which runs then east to the pond that's located near Springdale Drive.
Okay, thank you. Next public speaker, please. Come forth.
My name is Robert Catone, S15W22302 Arcadian Avenue. I basically have the 2 comments is I'm glad he took care of the colors of the house, the lighting, all that stuff, which is nice. And my other comment is I'm on the west side of the whole subdivision. And my concern was the drainage from the wetland and the retention ponds. If it all works out good, I'll be happier than heck, you know. The more water that gets drained off, technically it'll go west towards my house to the wetland from my land. But that's just my notice for concern. That's about all.
Okay, thank you. We'll have him address it. Cottone, or how's your last name spelled, please? Thank you very much. Okay, any comment then about water drainage?
I guess all I can say is there's 2 ponds. I think one of them is going to be infiltration as well. So the county will be reviewing the plans to make sure that there's no more additional water that's leaving the site today. So hopefully you'll see that it does work out. Otherwise the county wouldn't approve it. So.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to speak next? Second call, anyone else who would like to speak? do come forward because pretty soon public comment, if there is no one else who wants to speak, public comment will be over and then the discussion will be with the people behind the table. Yes, sir.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Jim Brook, BROOKE. I live at 1415 Stonefield Court. My only comment is this, it's just a point of clarification that if any point in time there is a decision to move forward with a phase 2 of a project, there would be another similar round of approvals that would take place. And I believe I've been confirmed on that, but I just thought I'd do it in public notice.
I think that the answer to that is without question.
Thank you.
Who else would like to speak? Anyone else? This is your opportunity, so please come forward. Going twice, anybody else? Going a third time? Okay, then I assume, Mr. Macy, it'd be appropriate to allow members of the joint board and commission here to offer comments, ask questions of the developer staff. Is that appropriate?
That's correct, unless he has comments that he wishes to make in response to the, before we get too far away from the
Public
citizen
comments.
comments, we
Okay.
may ask the developer if he wishes to respond in any way. He may not, if the answer is question may have been.
Let's ask him. Would he like to?
I think everything's been adequately answered.
Okay, well, there may be questions at this level then. Anybody who's up in front here who would like to ask a question or make a comment? People must want to get to the football game tonight, huh?
Well, my comment is, I think it's an excellent use of the property, particularly because of all the grades in there and the grade separation. It's an excellent use of the property.
Commissioner White?
I would like to congratulate John and the petitioner, I should say, and bringing back more information for our staff up here. I think you did a great job. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on issues or concerns that were expressed a month ago? I'll give you one more minute to think about that. I mean, we are about to close the public hearing. I believe that's the next procedural thing if there are no other comments. Is that correct, Attorney Macy?
That is correct.
So let folks think up here for a minute. Again, it's pretty much last chance at the public hearing level. Last call. Okay, then I will declare the public hearing closed. I'm assuming then we will next proceed as a joint commission here to discuss the conditional use permit and the site plan, which are actually two separate issues. Is that not correct? Okay, so let's take them one by one. And again, there's some of these are kind of overlapping information and issues, but we need to deal with those as two separate issues, would require separate actions or separate recommendations to the town board. And I think appropriately we would deal with the conditional use request. First, any site plan approval would be meaningless without a conditional use approval. So any of your comments, please, for the commission up here, direct them to the conditional use request. If at any time, if no one has a comment, motion for action would be in order.
I make a motion we approve, subject to any of the conditions.
And that's to approve the conditional use permit.
Check with the planner. Is this a recommendation to the town board?
Yes, and it's a recommendation for the town board, subject to the 13 conditions in the staff report.
So just clarifying, Commissioner Flanagan, your motion is to recommend approval of the conditional use permit to the town board with the 13 conditions, correct? Is there a second to the motion? All right, Commissioner Stigler seconds. Everyone understands the motion? Further discussion? Then we will vote, and I think this is a simple voice vote, is it not? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, the conditional use permit then is approved unanimously. We'll go to the second portion, and that would be site plan approval. Again, similar to the conditional use permit. Discussion on any of the site-related issues, any concerns, and if you're prepared to make a recommendation to the town board, that would be the action that this group could take.
Although they're separate, I believe that the staff had a separate report. In case they wish to. No,
It was all one report.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so site plan.
I make a motion to approve it. I mean, we've gone over this several times.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second that.
All right, the motion is made by Commissioner Flanagan, seconded by Commissioner White to approve the site plan, and this is also a recommendation to the town board. Again, so everybody in the audience understands the town board will act separately on these recommendations likely later this evening. Okay, any further discussion on that item? Everyone's clear on what the motion is? Okay, sure. Commissioner Buchholz.
This approval tonight, this is not a final approval on the site plan, or is this a conditional site approval, or is this a preliminary site approval? What exactly site approval is this?
Okay, for a question, my understanding, and perhaps I'm incorrect, I'm assuming this is the final site approval by Planner Barczyk. I mean, you can speak to that. Some of these things would obviously be for staff to follow up on, but please clarify that for us.
It's correct. It's approval of the site plan, the landscaping plan, and the lighting plan that's in your packet. Now, as they go through the county process, if there's anything that would change as a condition of their approval, depending on the significance of that change, it may have to come back to the plan commission. But what you see here is what the developer plans on building.
That said, I'm sorry.
So if there are concerns from the county that substantially change this, it has to come back here.
That would be correct. The county will keep us informed in their review, and if a road is shifting 100 feet to the west, or there's 3 or 4 buildings that are being moved, or we have more wells, or that would have to come back for approval.
I just want to make sure that addresses, like Mr. Cotton's concerns and such for drainage and such, and when those are fine. Thank you.
Further discussion? If everyone understands the motion is for a recommendation of approval of the site plan to the town board. And if you're prepared to vote, all those who would be in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. So the site plan approval is also approved unanimously. There being no further business or agenda items on the joint public hearing and plan commission meeting, a motion for adjournment would be in order.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Flanagan, a second. Seconded by? Second by Commissioner Buchholz. All in favor for adjournment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, then we are adjourned. There will be a town board meeting that will start. I guess, Mr. Marek, I would ask you, or Chairman Marek now, or the rest of the group, do we want to take a 5-minute break and then proceed with the town board meeting? All right, thank you.